Jedi are being murdered.
I didn't do it! Please believe me!
I sense something. Oh.
Star Wars: The Acolyte, 2-episode premiere June 4th.
Hello? This is where the fun begins.
What's up, guys? Unofficial Star Wars here. I hope you're all doing well, and welcome to my pretty much long overdue at this point, episode 1 of the Acolyte recap / review video. We are going to be discussing a number of different things that you might have missed throughout this episode, different references, Easter eggs, all of that great stuff we're going to be discussing throughout today's video. And of course, we're going to go ahead and we're going to hop right on into it. Before we do, though, however, grab that subscribe button if you haven't already, as we're discussing and covering all types of Star Wars-related news, leaks, rumors, theories, and breakdowns here on the channel. So if you guys are into any of that, go ahead and grab that subscribe button today. I think it already goes without saying that, well, yes, of course, there are spoilers ahead here for the Acolyte Episode 1, probably Episode 2 a little bit there as well. We'll probably discuss a little bit more of that as well here on the channel, or at least in this video. I'll have a whole nother video here on the channel, though, however, discussing all about Episode 2 of the Acolyte. And so, in this video, we are going to be taking a quick read from one of my favorites out there, dorksideoftheforce.com. I'll have their article linked in the description down below for you guys to check out there, as well as an overall garnering source. So, Star Wars: The Acolyte is finally here, diving into a brand new era for the first time within live action. Well, except part of the Mandoverse, that's technically a different new era that we haven't really seen all that much, but we're going to go ahead and recap everything that you might have missed in Episode 1, titled Lost and Found. We open with the traditional Star Wars crawl. Well, not all that traditional, but the Star Wars text that you know and love, explaining that the galaxy, Jedi Order, and the Republic are in a time of prosperity and peace. However, there are dark side forces emerging at play, and one lone assassin seems to be seeking revenge against a number of different Jedi. We open on the planet named Uda, where a young woman assassin, played by Amanda Steinberg, enters a village. She pays a local to tell her where the Jedi is. The assassin enters a cantina filled with patrons. Searching the room, she sees Jedi Master Indara in the corner. The assassin commands Indara to attack her first, however, Indara simply refuses, and the others at the table turn, look, and will laugh at her. They go to her into a fight scene. The assassin in turn attacks first, and the surrounding patrons that were laughing at her in the cantina. Indara goes on to join the fight to, well, bring the peace to it, easily parrying the assassin's blows without pulling her lightsaber, yet, at least. Master Indara only uses the Force and asks the assassin who's trained her. The assassin leaps up to the second floor of the cantina, again pulling up into civilians to lure Indara up to her. Indara follows, wanting to keep these assassins safe, of course, saving the patron as she calls on her comm about an assassin that's in this cantina. On her comm, she's talking to probably the Jedi Order, or at least other Jedi that are nearby, probably. After another round of different blows and more fighting, Master Indara seems to disarm the assassin and even unmasks her. Indara instantly recognizes this young woman. Her name is May, and she's a twin. The assassin says that she's there to kill Indara as revenge, shoving her with the Force. Also confirming that May and Indara are both Force sensitive, of course, but more specifically and importantly, you would think, is that May is actually supposed to be Force sensitive. As the assassin flings her knives at the Jedi Master, Indara goes on then to finally pull out her lightsaber, slashing the blades out of the air. Indara tries to talk her down from this situation still. The assassin counters that a Jedi does not pull their saber out unless they're prepared to kill. This makes Indara lower her blade as the assassin readies her next assault. The assassin shoots one blade down towards the barkeeper at the first floor. When Indara stops the blow with the Force, the assassin's second knife finds the Jedi Master's heart. Indara crumples to the ground as the assassin leaves her body behind. The assassin prepares to kill the barkeeper until she sees a child. Instead, she simply walks away. We then go on to see Osha, also played by Steinberg, who is this other twin of May. She awakens in her bunk and is greeted by her little droid named Pip. She gets dressed and meets with her other crew member, Philip, who pokes fun at her for not going out with them the previous night. However, she's coy about it, where she was, and doesn't give him an answer necessarily about what she does on her days off anyway. She and Philip don spacesuits to repair the shields on the ship that she's working on, which is under the Nemodian Trade Federation, also seen in The Phantom Menace, throughout the Clone Wars, and everything throughout the prequels. The captain is quite impatient at how long it's taking, of course, saying that these mechanics are disposable. Osha shoots back over the comms that they can hear the captain in a playful manner. While they're still repairing the part outside of the ship, another valve blows, setting a small fire. Osha moves to fix it. The flame triggers a memory in her of a calling for a girl named May, her twin sister, of course, as we find out, as well as her mother. Screaming is happening in the background of this memory, but Philip snaps her out of it, and she puts out the fire. This is also just then of where a Jedi Vector ship, the fighter ship used by the Jedi Order during this time period, comes out of hyperspace and goes to board the ship. The Modanians are not quite happy about to see the Jedi there. Jedi Knight Yord Fonder and his Padawan, Tasia Lora, enter the ship's bridge to greet these Nemodians. They're looking for Osha, who was a former Jedi at the time. When the captain tries to bluff that they definitely don't have any mechanics aboard the ship, especially human ones, because it's illegal for them to work in these dangerous conditions of space, Yord sees through it anyway. He begins to do a Jedi mind trick on the captain, but another bridge crew member points the Jedi in the right direction anyway. Osha returns to her room, where Yord is waiting. The two clearly know each other from their past, as Osha greets him in a friendly manner, congratulating him on passing the Jedi trials to become a Jedi Knight. Osha seems to have left the Jedi Order 6 years prior. She was brought in when she was around 8 years old, almost too old to be admitted, similar to Anakin Skywalker. Also, Osha was in mourning after losing her mother, sister, and the village in a fire. However, Jedi Master Soul had brought her to the Order so that she could be trained. They do finally go on to tell her that they're there because Master Andara was unfortunately murdered by someone who had matched her description, quite exactly. Apparently Osha had a bit of a stressful past with Master Andara, but Osha says that she would never have wanted to kill her though. She was on the freighter the previous night anyway, so she has an alibi. Tasi brings in the barkeeper, who quickly identifies Osha as the assassin. With that, they go on to actually arrest Osha. We jump over to Coruscant, where Jedi Master Soul is leading a class of Jedi younglings. Jedi Master Vanastra Rao enters the room as the younglings share of what they see in their meditation. One child sees a fire consuming everything around them. He dismisses the class and, greets Vernestra. Bit concerned about a kid seeing fire, but okay. Anyway, she brings grim news that they've found a new suspect in the murder of Master Andara, a dear friend of Soul's. It's Soul's previous Padawan Osha, which shocks Soul greatly. We can also see that Osha, having ever wanting to harm Andara as well, he simply believes that this is a mistake. It just doesn't make sense. Seems to be a tense time. Vanessa doesn't want it to be known that a former Jedi Master has been killed another. This would be fodder of the Order's political enemies as well. Soul gives Vernestra support in this master to bring justice against Osha. And so, back on the prison ship, the other convicts try to convince Osha to join them in a prison escape. The ship is piloted by droids, so it shouldn't be too hard to take them out and, steal the escape pods and make a go for it. Osha simply refuses, having faith in the Jedi and that they'll find her innocent. The other prisoners laugh at her. They start their prison escape anyhow, dropping out of hyperspace in an asteroid field. The ship takes quite a bit of damage and a couple of hits as the other prisoners free themselves by ripping the arm off of a droid passing by. They don't see to free Osha in the process though, leaving her behind and, laughing at her. So while now stuck in this prison cell by herself, Osha taps into the Force, trying to pull the droid toward her droid, Pip. She can't though. She hasn't used the Force in quite some time and won't be able to tap into it as easily as you may think. Luck is on her side though as Pip slides towards her while the ship turns and twists through the asteroids hitting them. Using the capabilities of her droid Pip and how he can weld, she frees herself and runs towards the escape pod. Pausing in the moment though, she takes a pity on the other violent prisoner left behind. Freeing him, he shoves past OSHA and takes the final escape pod for himself, yelling all in the process, going crazy of course. The ship is cornering towards a planet, breaking apart in the atmosphere. She buckles in and rides out the crash. Back on Coruscant, Sol is visited by his Padawan, Jackie. Vernestra wants to see him before he leaves. She asks if she can see old hollows of OSHA to get a better description. He instead gives a lesson on how they meditate on the past so that they don't repeat the failures. Sol meets with Vernestra before he leaves, and it turns out that the Jedi have picked up all of the escaped prisoners who took the escape pods while this ship was hijacked, essentially. They're blaming OSHA for all of this, of course. Sol uses the mind trick on one of the prisoners that had helped OSHA, and he tells the truth about what had really happened. Vernestra reminds him that one kind action doesn't not clear her of Indara's murder, seemingly. Sol wants to go out and find OSHA for himself. Vernestra doesn't like it, but she gives him permission to take a small team with him. He brings Jackie with him, and, well, it seems to be her first mission too. She's ready for it though, and really hopes that it's Yord joining them for the mission. Sure enough, it is Yord joining them. As they arrive onto the ship, he's shirtless and preparing his robes. An awkward, funny moment, greeting follows as Jackie tells him to put his clothes on. They leave within 5 minutes, and with that the Jedi set out to find OSHA, who awakens in the wreckage of the crashed ship on the snowy planet of Karlak. We've seen this planet once before in the animated Star Wars The Clone Wars. A shadowy figure appears at the door, quite uncanny if you ask me. It really caught me off guard, walking away and leading her away. She follows the shadowy figure into the snow outside. It turns and it's a little girl who calls her by her name, OSHA. OSHA calls the little girl May, who was her sister. Well, putting two and two together, they are twins. The scenery shifts around her to her home planet before the fire. It is then a fire breaks out in the trees around her. OSHA chases the young May through the Force vision into her old home. OSHA is then a young girl of herself, calling out to May and questioning if this is even real. Could May have survived the fire? She begins to wonder. May confirms that she is the one who has killed Master Indara through this strange Force vision. I want to know more about this though. The Force vision begins to break and OSHA snaps awake, once again in the crashed vessel with Pip by her side. Back with the Jedi, Jackie wants to know more about OSHA once again. She was her master's former Padawan after all. He was stationed on OSHA's planet when her sister started the fire that had killed her entire family, he reveals. He took her in as a Padawan after that. Yord steps in, saying that he didn't know that OSHA had a twin, and Jackie confirms that information wasn't in her file. Sol shuts down any thoughts of that this could be May after all, as she seems to have died in front of Master Sol during the fire. It is then of when the Jedi arrive to the planet of Karlak and head down toward the planet. OSHA hears their ship incoming and runs to hide. Yord doesn't think that OSHA could have survived this. Suddenly, Sol gets an idea and races out to the other two Jedi following in tow. OSHA slips into a cave, spotting a back exit. Sol and his team are just behind. The exit is a dead end for OSHA, who is cornered by the Jedi now. She's very tense right now and is trying to do anything and everything to get away. Sol races to his old Padawan. OSHA begs her old master to believe her, that she isn't responsible for these crazy murders that have been going on. Suddenly, she begins to slip off the edge. He catches her, though, with a force. Pulling her back to him, Sol brings a knee down and steadies her. He shows her the warmest smile, and she confirms that May is also alive. He believes her and tells the other Jedi to stand down. Elsewhere, May is on an ocean planet and meets with a dark figure. The figure calls her an acolyte, and the person pulls out their red-bladed lightsaber. This is where episode 1 of The Acolyte, Lost and Found, comes to a conclusion. And I still gotta say it, I mean really, what quite an episode starter, an episode to start off this series, kick it all off. I'm at the edge of my seat the entire time, and especially through episode 2. The stakes are high. That's the thing with this show, and I've mentioned this in our reaction videos here on the channel as well. You don't know what's going to happen, and so for that, everything is at stake, and everything is super interesting. You don't know who's going to kick the bucket.
Jedi are being murdered.
I didn't do it! Please believe me!
I sense something dark.
Star Wars The Acolyte, 2-episode premiere June 4th.
Hello there.
This is where the fun begins.
What's up, guys? Unofficial Star Wars here. Hope you're all doing well, and welcome to my Star Wars The Acolyte Episode 2 recap, review, breakdown video. We are going to be discussing a number of different things that you might have missed throughout this episode, different references, Easter eggs, all of that great stuff we are going to be discussing throughout this video, as well as a plethora of my own thoughts and opinions and theories sprinkled throughout this video, by which I would love to hear what you guys are all thinking in the comments down below. Of course, we're going to go ahead, we're going to hop right on into it. Before we do, though, however, grab that subscribe button if you haven't already, as we're discussing and covering all types of Star Wars related news, leaks, rumors, theories, and breakdowns here on the channel. So if you guys are into any of that, go ahead and grab that subscribe button today. Okay, so in this video we are going to be taking a quick read from one of my favorites out there, dorksideoftheforce.com. I'll have their article linked in the description down below for you guys to check out there as well. I think it should also go without saying that yes, of course, there are spoilers ahead for The Acolyte, both episodes that are now streaming on Disney+. Episode 1, I just put out our review / breakdown video here for that here on the channel. You guys can check that video out as well if you haven't already. Episode 2, the plot thickens easily with episode 2 of The Acolyte, as this episode is titled Revenge and Justice, as the twin sisters Osha and May realize that the other is alive, which is supposedly supposed to have been a big turning point or a big mystery, a part of this entirety of this show, but I think that everybody kind of already knew that, actually, if for anything, based off of the trailer and a lot of the different leaks that we've talked about and rumors that we've talked about here on the channel before. It's really nothing new all that much, to be honest with you guys, and I think that if for anything, the big mystery kind of twist, if for anything, is actually learning and figuring out the main motive, for one thing, as of to why May is going around and trying to assassinate these specific Jedi Masters and Jedi Knight that we also learn about in this episode. More specifically, their whole kind of backstory, what went on with the twins, their falling out and everything like that, maybe how May was actually able to survive as well, is a big kind of mystery and question out there, because everybody seems to have thought that she was dead, and all of a sudden she pops up and is alive and well and is kind of going around and trying to murder people. Anyway, Star Wars The Acolyte's first episode had kicked off with quite a bang and of a mystery, with a Jedi Master being killed off, especially within that first 5 minutes. Was not anticipating that for Master Endara. Osha, an ex-Jedi who's left the Jedi Order, is thought to be the culprit because she easily fits the description. However, she suspects that her twin sister, May, is well and alive after surviving a horrific fire in their childhood. The only other person who believes Osha and would be able to actually stand by as an alibi is her former old master, Master Soul. This episode opens on the planet of Olega at a local Jedi temple outpost there. A little girl throws a ball at the sensor droid out front. She follows May's orders, who disables the droid and pays the girl before she goes in. May slinks through the hallways, avoiding the other Jedi, and, well, blends in with the civilians. She finds a floating meditating Jedi Master named Master Torben. She uses some of the same lead that she had used with Master Endara in episode 1, Lost and Found, to try and get Torben to attack her, but Torben's not having it. He's just chilling, floating there, meditating, and deep in thought, kind of ignoring any outside forces. Torben doesn't attack and continues to meditate. May attacks him, but the Force is all around Torben, blocking her out as pretty much a barrier, a wall. It makes a barrier that her fists and knives simply can't get through. Suddenly, the other Jedi are aware of some type of break-in and now are coming into the hallways. May flees out of the top of the ceiling, disappearing. Back on the snowy planet of Karlak, we pick back up with May's twin sister, Osha, who is in the custody of her ex-Jedi Master Soul, his current Padawan Jackie Lon, and her once friend Jedi Knight Yord Fonder. Jackie is struggling with some ship controls, so Osha simply offers some friendly advice. The controls work just fine for Jackie after, and the two begin to talk. She introduces Jackie to her little pocket droid Pip too. Sol passes through, making them both fall silent, as Jackie, his Padawan, has a lot of respect for her master. She doesn't want to kind of, just be talking on the job, kind of what it seems like. Yord meets with Sol in the hallway and protests that they're not restraining Osha, who has escaped custody before. Yord mentions that even if this is a so-called twin theory is true, what if Osha works for May, or vice versa, essentially? What if May and Osha are still on this whole murder scheme together anyway? Master Sol meets with Vanessa Rao over a hologram once again, and they push through with this mission. Acting fast is essentially with what they're trying to get at, and they also see as to how Osha is able to be an asset to them, if for anything. Master Sol trusts her. Yord is simply against Osha coming with them to Olega though, however. Osha brings up that she knows Torben, she as just knew Indara. Sol shuts down Yord's concern, pulling a bit of a rank on him if for anything, but with that, they set a course for Olega. Back on the planet, May moves through the streets until she comes to the shop owned by Quimir, who is sleeping in the back of his shop. She throws a cup at him to wake him up, and May questions his clothes, and turns out this place is not actually his shop. He took the clothes and the shop from the owner to blend in, actually. A bit of a twist there. Quimir knows that she was trying to kill a Jedi the night before. She's frustrated, thinking that the Jedi is impenetrable, so she knows and wants him to kind of make him a poison for killing Master Torben. Apparently May is on some sort of a timer to get these kills done. This murder's kind of all done through. She needs to kill Torben fast. Quimir pokes fun that will never be able to kill the Wookiee Jedi next. She only has 2 more Jedi left to kill after Torben to please her master, who's a big mystery at this point in time. He makes them both drinks, waxing poetic that the so-called peace that the Jedi stand for is simply a lie. Of course, very similar to how we see people react to the Empire, those same people react the same to the Republic and to the Jedi. There's people that are going to be against those ideas and that control. He brews his concoction, making her a poison in the process. Before she leaves, May tells Quimir not to tell him about this transaction, into reference of May's master. Back with the Jedi, Sol asks Osha about her tattoo that she got one night with her crew. She jokes that he hates it, but he quips back that it doesn't really matter what he likes and thinks. They discuss May possibly being the killer, even though they both apparently saw May die 16 years ago at a fire. Master Sol admits that he wanted to save both of the girls, of course, but he could only rescue Osha in time the night that her family and her village had met their demise. He made peace with what had happened that night. Osha has not and still carries that trauma and grief. Master Sol admits that he might not have been a very good teacher to her as well throughout those years of her being a part of the Jedi Order. Their ship is now approaching Olega and swoops into land on the town. They head back to the Jedi Temple, where they are greeted by another Temple Jedi. While they kind of get the story of what had happened the previous night, May returns for Torben, slipping in through the ceiling at the very moment that they're there, talking right outside. May asks if Torben remembers her, poking fun at it and kind of trying to get him out of his meditation. He took the Barat vow, an oath taken by Jedi, who completely refrained from all activities related to the Jedi Order as a form of penitence, and disengaging from anything but the Force itself, committing themselves into gaining an ultimate communion with it. I'll have more on that in a whole separate another video, in more detail and in more depth here on the channel. It's all the more reason to grab that subscribe button if you haven't already. She knows why he had took that vow simply 10 years ago to escape his past. She gives him an ultimatum. Torben can confess to his crime to the Jedi Council, or drink the poison to receive forgiveness. Torben opens his eyes at this time and drops to the ground. I find this kind of crazy for the fact that he's been in this meditation state for the better part of a decade, 10 years, and this is what gets him to wake up and, well, taking the poison, simply killing himself. Whatever he's done that he would want to avoid confessing to the Jedi Council, whatever crime he's done, it has to be bad if you're just going to want to kind of up and off yourself, kind of, if for anything. There's a lot of different theories on that, and hopefully it will be revealed sooner or later in the next couple of episodes. Anyway, Soul wants to speak to Torben, and the Jedi welcome them into the temple. While moving through the hallways, Osha sees a vision of young May. She dashes off to follow while Yord watches her go, keeping an eye on her. Back with May, Torben asks for forgiveness, saying that he had thought that they were doing the right thing, and with that, he willingly takes the poison, offing himself. Through the Force, Soul senses a disturbance, and he begins to sprint ahead as everybody follows. Osha has beaten them though, finding the poison bottle and now Torben laying dead. May is gone, and the ceiling is also open. Everyone else rushes in, which looks really bad for Osha, finding her over a dead body. Thankfully, Yord quickly clears her, as he had followed her through the back way as well. The group analyzes Torben's body, realizing that there's simply no struggle. Torben killed himself. Osha also recognizes this poison, that it's made from a leaf that grows on her home planet, or maybe what's left of her home planet. The Jedi scope out the nearby apothecary, and the local Jedi don't really recognize Quimir. Yord wants to make his elaborate plan to capture Quimir, bring him back to the ship and question him then. Jackie, on the other hand, says that they should just use Osha, as, well, May and Osha are twins. If this guy is sold to May, and they're twins, Osha can just kind of walk right in and talk to the guy while the Jedi record it. It would also get them a confession that May is a culprit at the same time as well, and that Quimir has involvement, so that's what they go with. Soul agrees with Padawan's plan, which makes Yord look a bit put off, but anyway, they move out with their plan, and with Pip recording under Osha's cloak. Osha enters the shop where Quimir does call her by May's name and brings up the poison. Quimir notes how strange Osha is acting as well, and brings up the mysterious him again, into reference of May's master. With the info that they need, the Jedi move out to extract Osha. This is a good move because Quimir realizes that the woman before him is not May. The Jedi rush in and surround him. Quimir quickly tries to bluff his way out of this one, but simply can't. They now have the evidence that they need. Soul brings up this mysterious he that they had heard over the comm and wants to know if that's May's master, which, if you put two and two together, it seems to be. Quimir feints as if he has no idea of what's happening, that he's simply just a guy that works there. He's just a supplier. He admits that she wants revenge on 4 specific Jedi. May will be returning that night because Quimir has some other things for her. The Jedi move out to prepare for May's arrival at that time. And so, fast forwarding to that night, everyone is in their position. The plan is to let Soul confront May alone. However, Osha wants to see her sister. Not for a sweet reunion, but because May killed their family. Osha is still angry at that. Soul tries to guide her to let her grief go, but Osha wants her justice. Soul calls it revenge. He couldn't save May as a child, and he wants to try and save her now if he can, and with that, he begins to leave. Osha stops him and notes that May wants to kill 4 other Jedi, and Osha has an idea of who they all are, and that they were stationed at their home planet 16 years ago when this fire had broke out. The 4 Jedi are Endara, Torben, another named Kalneka, and, well, Master Soul. Master Kalneka, I'm pretty sure, is supposed to be the Wookiee Jedi that we saw at the end of this episode, and that we'll probably see in the next episode. It also goes that Soul is on that list, and that he is a target. Master Soul tells her to have faith in May and in him, and with that he leaves to face the young assassin. Yord spots May coming towards Quimir's shop. Jedi readies their ship, and the plan is now in motion as Soul calls out May's name. She instantly almost attacks him, unlike the other Jedi Masters, wanting them to attack first, and the two begin to brawl out from there. With each pass, he slowly disarms her of her knives and keeps her out of reach of his lightsaber. He wants to know who's trained her. During the battle, everyone else kind of listens in on the comms, trying to pull info, and while also keeping a close eye on Master Soul, making sure that he doesn't get into too much trouble, but he can handle her. Master Soul pins May with the Force at one point, and he sees her in her mind that her master hides his identity from himself and from May as well, and that even if May wanted to tell them who her master is, he simply can't. She breaks free from his hold, pulling another hidden knife out at the time. May reveals that she thinks that Osha is dead. When Soul says that Osha is very much alive, May calls her a liar and begins to attack with pure rage. But Yord interferes, ripping the knife from her hand. He confirms that Osha is alive and well. The Jedi surround May, and Soul offers his hand to May, bringing help, wanting to help her. Throwing her hands down with the force, she kicks up the dirt around them to mask her escape. May flees into the night. Osha hears this over the comms and heads out to find her sister in the village. While trying to steal a speeder from a civilian, May stops when Osha comes out of the alley pointing a blaster at her twin. May looks in shock and sees her sister, who, she thought was dead, calling her the nickname Oshi. Osha hesitates, missing her chance to stun her sister. May flees in the speeder, getting away as Master Soul and Yord arrive at the scene. It seemed like maybe Osha wasn't necessarily hesitating. I mean, yeah, she was hesitating, but it seemed like that she was almost trying to kind of purposely miss. Back on the Jedi ship, Soul is bickering with Vanestra over a hologram about what to do next. Vanestra and the Jedi Council want to have a more meaningful discussion before any further steps are taken. Master Soul knows May is gunning for the Jedi Kalneka as well. They know that her next target, and they don't want to hesitate on it. Vanestra cuts to transmission. The next day, we come to Quaimar watches the Jedi at the local temple when May springs out and tries to attack him. He quickly pins her against a wall. She's angry that he's sold her out. He counters that they can get them off of this planet and go to Kofar, which happens to be where the Wookiee Jedi Master Kalneka lives. The two then flee into the streets from there. The episode begins to come to a conclusion on Kofar, where two travelers find Master Kalneka's home, and a bit of a post-credit kind of teaser is something I really actually liked. I thought it was actually pretty funny. The Wookiee Jedi comes out of the forest and scares them off, setting things up for the next episode of The Acolyte. It's from here where the Acolyte episode 2, titled Revenge and Justice, comes to its conclusion. This entire episode had me on the edge of my seat, very similar to as I have mentioned in our not just reaction videos for the Acolyte, but also my Acolyte episode 1 breakdown video here on the channel. You guys can watch it now. As of 2, the stakes are high. We don't know what's going to happen. Anyone can kick the bucket. And that whole fight scene that had gone on between May and Master Soul, I really thought that would be the demise of Master Soul. I thought that was going to be it. That's where he would get killed off pretty much. Thankfully, it appears that I was wrong about that. And well, yeah. As I had also mentioned throughout this video, there's a lot of other details that need to be kind of explained in more detail and in more depth in separate future videos here on the channel. All the more reason to grab that subscribe button if you haven't already. Guys, this is all being said, let me know all of your thoughts and opinions in the comments down below. I'd love to hear what you guys are all thinking. Thanks so much for watching today's video. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Have a great one. May the Force be with you as always. Peace out.